Welcome to the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction Title I Shorts, a technical assistance web series to help make sense of the world of Title I. In this Title I Shorts, we will consider ways Title I funds can support educational equity through family and community engagement.
A working definition of equity we will use to outline our work was developed by the Council of Chief State School Officers, or CCSSO. That definition is, educational equity means that every student has access to the educational resources and rigor they need at the right moment in their education, across race, gender, ethnicity, language, disability, sexual orientation, family background, and/or family income. While Wisconsin has seen outstanding academic results over the past few decades, there have also been inequities in educational outcomes that indicate not all groups of students are getting what they need. Title I funds are intended to support efforts ensuring every student can succeed.
In order to determine how to support groups of students whose needs are not being met, it is important to first gather and analyze data about your school, its students, their families, and the surrounding community. Make sure you gather both quantitative data such as reading and math scores, as well as qualitative data such as feedback through focus groups with students, staff, and the Family Council. Analyzing your school's data may help to identify inequitable outcomes and their root causes. With a greater understanding of the data and its implications, the district and school can make a plan for building equitable outcomes. One piece of that plan is to utilize Title I funds to address those outcome gaps.
Every part of your plan must include your students' and families' cultures, languages, values, practices, traditions, and backgrounds. Engaging students and families in the plan and work builds a strong home and school connection. Engaging students and families can help empower advocates for all students.
Let's say the school has identified a cause of inequitable outcomes due to lack of family and community engagement and would like to use Title I funds to increase family and community engagement efforts. Make sure the strategy being considered is directly related to the causes identified for the inequitable outcomes. Consider the following questions. Is there evidence this use of funds would address the inequitable outcomes? Does this use of funds reflect consideration of your students' cultures, languages, values, beliefs, and backgrounds? How do you know?
It is also essential the family and community engagement strategy selected will be accessible to families in the community, as well as empower and use them as assets. Here are a few of the important questions to ask when making decisions about family and community engagement strategies. How are families empowered to engage in their students' learning? And how is the effectiveness of family engagement strategies evaluated and revised as needed?
Now let's look at a scenario. A Title I school-wide program has examined their data, which reveals the need for increased family and community engagement efforts to bridge learning from school to home. The school plans to use Title I funds to host a family night where they would go over methods parents can use to support their students' learning at home. They pay for light snacks during the event, supplies for hands-on educational activities, childcare, and extended contracts for teachers to be present.
Is there evidence that this strategy of family and community engagement would address the inequitable outcomes? Does this strategy and the use of funds reflect considerations of your students' cultures, languages, values, beliefs, and backgrounds? How do you know? For this scenario, the answer is, it depends. It depends on the attendance at the events and which parents are represented. After hosting events, it is imperative for schools to review the attendance and crosswalk the data with the students who are most in need of additional supports. Schools may find that the same parents always attend events. If so, a school could choose to examine the communication methods they use to inform parents of events. Is this communication done in multiple ways, in a language that the parents can understand? Are events offered at different times to accommodate parents' varying schedules and home demands? Are there opportunities to host events off-site in the neighborhoods of students and families who are in most need? A school may also want to examine if hosting an event is the best way to give parents information. Questions to consider may include, would information be better disseminated through a community organization that students frequent? Could the school create after-school learning opportunities for students? Hosting an event may be a great idea for some schools to disseminate information, but we should always be looking back at the data to ensure we are reaching our most vulnerable students and their families.
Let's look at another scenario together. In our second school, data from a climate survey reveals parents do not feel a sense of belonging at the school. The school decides to host an event at the beginning of the year to welcome and get to know parents. They will use Title I funds to pay for light snacks and crafts for students.
Let's consider the questions from earlier. Is there evidence that this strategy would address the inequitable outcomes? Does this strategy reflect consideration of your students' cultures, languages, values, beliefs, and backgrounds? How do you know? Please pause this video for more time to think. For this scenario, whether or not the decided upon strategy would address the inequitable outcomes depends. It depends on the daily climate of the school. But before determining how to spend Title I funds to address the inequitable outcomes, it is essential to refer back to what the data is saying.
What family engagement strategies are your school or district considering? How will you ensure the strategy decided upon will advance educational equity? As you can see from the scenarios, there is not a straightforward answer to this question. Rather, it is essential to look at what the data is saying and to consider the unique needs of the students and families in your school as you determine the most equitable use of Title I funds. Additionally, it is key to remember that there is no one fast, easy solution to promoting educational equity. Once you identify the root cause of your school's achievement gaps, it is important to understand there are likely multiple avenues that must be addressed in order to close them. Remember to always put equity at the center of the conversation when discussing what these avenues might be. Your answer lies in the questions you ask and the conversations you have with stakeholders. Consider using the following questions as a starting point to guide this conversation. Is there evidence that adding this family and community engagement strategy would contribute to addressing the inequitable outcomes? Does this family and community engagement strategy reflect consideration of students' cultures, languages, values, beliefs, and backgrounds? How do you know? For more questions to consider when using Title I funds to close achievement gaps, check out the Title I Shorts website for more resources.
Thanks for joining us today. As always, for specific questions, please reach out to your district Title I consultant or your CSED network Title I consultant. Please take a moment to provide us with feedback on this video and what you are interested in hearing about more on future videos.